Hi, it's Mrs. Sharples here. I'm here for your Thursday English lesson, and we're going to be writing a story tomorrow, a version of Little Red Riding Hood, and you're going to be able to think of a different ending and have a different hero in the story. So I'm here today, it's Thursday, and I'm here to talk to you about writing your own story plan. We're going to plan your story today, and I'm going to be talking you through how to do that to help you write a really good story tomorrow. So let's share a screen with you. This is going to be your story plan. Okay, so in the OneDrive, there is a sheet that looks like this with the beginning, the build up, the problem, the resolution, and the ending. There's two different versions, one that has more room for a picture and this one that has room for lots of writing. I'm going to transfer now to talk about one that I've got ready for you. There it is. Okay, here it is. Now, in the beginning section, you need to write things that happen at the start of the story. So this will be your comfort blanket for tomorrow. Okay, when you write your story, your Little Red Riding Hood story, this is where you put your keywords, your ideas, things that you want to remember when you write your story tomorrow. So this is a plan. Okay, so in the beginning part, I put some questions on this side to help you get ready. So what happens at the beginning of the story? Who are the main characters? Don't forget to describe Little Red. Don't forget to describe where the story is set, where it takes place, because that's stuff that you've worked on today, this week. So tomorrow when you write your story, you're going to be able to use loads of that in your story. So in the beginning, remember, Mum tells Little Red to go to Grandma's. Now here, I have tried not to write in full sentences. They don't all link together yet. I haven't started writing the full story yet. I've just put some of the ideas that I want to remember. So if you wanted to note some of these down on your sheet, then you can, okay? My idea so far is, in the story, Mum tells Little Red to go to Grandma's, and she still says things like, stay on the path. I wanted to remember to write that in my story tomorrow. Little Red takes the brown basket. I wanted to add that in. Now, we have described Little Red loads. So if you wanted to get out what you wrote earlier on in the week to bring some of that here or keep it safe to be able to use tomorrow, I've popped on some funny bits about there's a funny smell in the forest and then it's deep and dark. Here will be a great place to put some of the best bits that you loved from your description of the forest. Now on the next part, how the story builds up. Well, that's when she meets the wolf, isn't it? What happens next? Here you can describe the wolf. How does the story hint what the problem is going to be? And what does the wolf do? Okay, this is where you would list, you put the things underneath each other. They're not in full sentences. It's not your full story yet. These are your ideas to help you get ready to write. So it's things like she meets the wolf. And then I wanted to make sure that I had some adjectives. So I put that he's furry, he's mean, she chats to him sweetly. So I wanted to add that adverb to say how she chatted to him. And I wanted to remember some of the repeated phrases that you find. So things like, where are you going? You see that bit lots in the different versions of Little Red that we've seen. And I wanted to add a description to help me remember when we write. So tall, clever fox, and he has a silky voice. And I liked an adjective that I read in one of the Little Red stories, and she angelically smiles. So this part of the story, remember, is when the wolf meets Little Red in the forest, and they have a chat, don't they, about where is she going. She tells her that she tells him that he's going to Grandma's house, and he gets the idea because he's a clever fox clever wolf of what he's going to do. So in your story plan, for the problem of the story, you would you would write things like the wolf cuts through the rustling dense trees to go to grandma's small white cottage. He wants to eat the tasty girl. He wants to, and so he licks his lips. He sneaks in silently, tiptoe into the cottage. Further ideas are that he swallows Grandma whole. Now, this is your story, because the different versions of Little Red that we've read, sometimes he puts Grandma in the cupboard, sometimes he eats her up. And I put some onomatopoeia there of yum tum rub, yum tum yum, to help make the story interesting. So put lots of your ideas on here. Pick the things that you've liked from all the different Little Red Riding Hood stories that we've had in our live Zoom meetings, or that you've had on the links that I've provided this week. I wanted to remember that the wolf puts on a pink thrilly dress, that he leapt into Grandma's bed, and then there's these nice phrases, isn't there? What big eyes you have. So this is all still the problem in the story. This is what happens to Grandma, and then what the wolf says and what phrases he uses. She says, what big eyes you have. He says, all the better to see you with. What big ears you have. All the better to hear you with. Now remember, if you want to pause any of this, because we haven't got the board that I could leave on to help prompt you or to help provide the keywords list, then you could pause the bits that you need to add on to your story plan. So the beginning of the story, Mom tells Little Red to go to Grandma. She reminds her to stay on the path, doesn't she? Little Red takes the big brown basket with tasty cakes in to help Grandma feel better because she's poorly. She goes into the deep, dark forest, and she's a little bit scared. There's a funny smell. She meets the wolf, the furry, mean wolf, I should say, and she chats to him sweetly. And he asks things like, where are you going? And she tells him all about how she's going to see her poorly grandma with these tasty cakes to help her feel better. The wolf has a silky voice that she doesn't quite trust, but she still smiles to him angelically. Now, the wolf is clever and he has a plan. He wants to eat this tasty little girl, and he cuts through the rustling dense trees to go to Grandma's white small cottage. He sneaks in silently, tiptoe, tiptoe, and he swallows the grandma whole before she knows what could happen. Yum, tum, yum. He puts on the pink frilly dressing gown, and leaps into Grandma's bed. He hears a knock at the door. Come in, little girl. And the Little Red Riding Hood comes in, and she says, oh, Grandma, what big eyes you have. And the wolf replies, all the better to see you with. And then the wolf keeps crouching down under the duvet covers, and she says to him, what big ears you have. All the better to hear you with, said the wolf. She suddenly realizes, what big teeth you have. All the better to eat you with. Now this bit here, the resolution, how it gets solved, how's the problem sorted out. In most of the stories that we've looked at this week, the Little Red Riding Hood gets saved by the woodcutter. He comes in and scares the wolf away. In one of the versions that we've looked at, actually the mum and boshes the wolf with a saucepan. We've seen versions where the grandma and the mum actually then stuff onions into the wolf and give him a big fat tummy ache. Now, what I would like you to do here is, I've called the story that you're going to write tomorrow Little Red Riding Hood and the New Hero, because you can decide, it's your story, and you can do it slightly different. We still want to be able to tell that it's a Little Red Riding Hood story. We still want you to use the features that you've learned about traditional tales. So it still needs to have the wolf in, Little Red, how they meet. It still needs some repeating phrases in. You'll need some of the things that we talked about last week, like once upon a time. Okay, so your new hero could be, do you want it to still be the woodcutter, or could you think of something more exciting that could happen? Maybe suddenly quick as a flash, her daddy comes in and her daddy solves the problem somehow. Maybe a magician could come in and solve the problem of the wolf. Maybe the wizard comes in and suddenly zaps the wolf with a spell that says boom, 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 and the wizard freezes the wolf, goes back in time to save the grandma. And then your ending would be that they live happily ever after because they realize that the wizard has been looking after them the whole time. Or would you like the mum to be the hero? Or maybe Little Red herself suddenly pulls out this amazing I'm trying to be imaginative. Maybe out of her basket springs out this magic watering can, and she sprays water all over the wolf, and the wolf melts into a puddle. Okay, so I've got this to help you think about it for a moment, and I want you to pause the video in a second to be able to just think about your hero, because that's going to be a key bit. Okay, I don't want it to take you too long. It's just, you don't even really have to write anything. It's just something you need to think about. So what could your hero be called? You can be as imaginative as you like. You could use Superman, you could use Spider-Man if you really want to. But you need to decide how the grandma is saved and what your hero looks like. So is it the mum? Is it Little Red herself? Is it the woodcutter? And then you need to add it here to how the problem is solved, what your hero looks like with some nice description. How does the story end, and does it end happily? Okay, so in OneDrive you will find a sheet that looks like this with the right date and title, and I'd like you to work really hard to make a story plan. You're going to be writing the story tomorrow, and have fun, work hard, and take care. Thanks for listening so carefully. Okay, bye-bye now. Bye.